Hey there, welcome to the Mental Perk Podcast. I'm Karla Hutcherson, licensed professional counselor.
And I'm Brandi, entrepreneur, author, and community leader. And we're here to talk about
real people, real issues, and real talk.
Welcome back to Mental Perk. Today, Karla and I are just sitting here talking today about hurricane and the hurricanes that have been hitting and the impact it's had on the mental health of everybody going through what they're going through right now. I don't think people realize that this is not just a hurricane, it's done and gone. This is going to be a long-term process of people having to rebuild their lives and their health and the mourning of loss of life. So we wanted to talk to you guys today about that and just figure out like what we can do moving forward to help the survivors of such a devastating
100%.
Situation.
I mean, the thing about it is the first, week or two that it happens, first few days to the week or two after, it's in the news, we're all aware of it, we're feeling that empathy, but then we get back to life as normal.
Yeah.
And our life goes on as normal, but those in the area, their life will never be normal again.
They're devastated.
Yeah, they're devastated. I mean, they may find normalcy years down the road, but it's going to take a long time to recover. And so some of the horrifying things that these people have seen or witnessed, they'll never forget. And so the impact is very long living, like you pointed out earlier. Any hurricane, natural disaster, tornadoes, any of those things. I don't know, what are some other natural disasters?
Earthquakes,
all of these
fires.
Things. Yeah. Oh yeah, wildfires.
Freezes. You want me to keep going?
But yeah, so there's such an impact, and I don't know that we really consider that, especially when we're kind of on the outside looking in.
Right.
I think we've all known people who have been in the area who kind of lived through some of these things. I know my relatives that went through it, theirs was just on a very light level compared to what maybe people in the Carolinas or other parts of Florida,
Georgia.
Yeah, and all those areas felt. But, we talk about mental health, and it's so important to understand that the anxiety, the depression, and what we don't really think about is the PTSD that goes along with that.
Oh my gosh, I can't imagine. And here's the thing. I think the thing that surprised and shocked me the most, and I think it did the Carolinians, is these people lived in the hills. They lived in the mountains.
Yeah.
This was something they were not expecting at the level that it hit them at.
I think people on the coastlines,
sure, they're ready.
They are ready. They understand the impacts of hurricanes. When you live in Florida, you're living there
it's
knowing
a given. You're going to get hit by a hurricane.
One way or the other, you're going to get hit by a hurricane.
Right.
And so you mentally prepare for that. But what happened in the Carolinas was so different. Those are areas that do not, they get some rain or wind if there's a hurricane that comes through, but by the time it gets to them, it's just a tropical storm at that point.
Right.
It's not a full-blown hurricane.
Mudslides. It's just, the river's rising. It's just been absolutely devastating. And, the sad thing is, too, is these, I think I've seen a lot of politics play out in this, and I think that the part that is disturbing to me is lives are not political.
Yeah.
And these people are just trying to figure out how to survive, how to get immediate emergency attention. I've seen people that have been stranded for 14 days without water or without food, and their families just huddled together.
Well, I heard, and there was a nurse on the news that she had been down there working and trying to help people, and people are so desperate, they're drinking dirty water.
Oh.
So now the diseases that are going to come around, they're having to feed their babies dirty water.
Yeah,
And so the diseases that are going to happen, she says it's coming.
It's going to happen.
It's coming.
It's not if, but when.
Exactly. And
Wow.
it's just so heartbreaking because they're trying to survive. Mm-hmm. And I think you bring up a point about the political part. Had this not happened in an election year, then it probably wouldn't have got as much political attention as it did, because it's not a political issue. It's an American issue. Right. But I think because it's in a political year, the politicians are playing up to that, and I think it's showing a lack of empathy.
Oh my gosh, it's almost disheartening at every level because, like you said, politics, lives don't care about the politics. When you're surviving, you just need the help. Give the help you need, and honestly, I feel like, and I may be wrong, but I feel like I've seen a lot of attention going towards Florida, which they need that attention, and you know. every hurricane's going to pick up momentum and you're going to have areas that are devastated. But the people that were devastated in the Carolinas in Georgia, it's, there's a big difference between that. Like we said,
100%,
you're expecting it in Florida. You're not expecting it. Doesn't mean the value of life is any less. But I think people didn't realize and don't realize that this is going to be a long-term recovery.
Yeah, it's psychologically and physically beyond the normal human experience.
Yeah.
It's something that most of us will never experience, anything on that level.
No, I've heard that a family of 11, 8 of them were killed. And I'm thinking, your family's your support system, right? And when, 60% of your family gets wiped out, and you're left to just try to figure, our kids, we've heard reports of children being ripped out of their parents' hands from the roaring waters. And I think, oh my gosh, I can't imagine the trauma of the children and, the survivors. It's just,
it brings you to another point. We talk about PTSD and the depression that goes along with this, but now those who survive, they've got survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing. And I was just reading some statistics the other day about since this happened in the Carolinas, the suicide rate has more than doubled. I mean, there's just so many people who are so hopeless and so helpless and so desperate that they're taking their own lives because they don't know any other way out.
Well, and it's important too, people, that, when you want to give to a cause, you want to give something, make sure you're researching who you're giving your funds to, because I think a lot of people are desperate to get somehow figure out how to get back on their feet again. And, we got to be cautious on how we start. You research the organizations that have been out there for a long time. Your Red Cross.
100%.
I mean, these guys have been around forever. And so, just make sure you research that before you just start throwing money. The best way to do it is to get hands on ground. I've reached out to people directly that I know, family and friends that live in that area. What can we do? And, sometimes they're telling me, nothing right now. Let us get through the next couple weeks. Then we can tell you better what we need. Because your immediate is coming in now, right?
Yes.
It's going to be that long term.
Yes. It's going to be like months later. And the thing about it is we're about to hit into the holiday season.
Yeah.
This is the biggest time of year that people give and donate and provide to charities. And I just want to encourage all of you to remember the people in Florida, Georgia, Carolinas. And don't forget, use this opportunity with the holidays and the spirit of giving to give to these people, because they have lost everything and they're going to need so much long-term support. So take this opportunity to give to them. There's so many great organizations out there like Samaritan's Purse and some other ones, great private organizations that are doing so much hands-on work. So research that and give to those people. They're helping in so many ways that we don't even see in the media.
It makes my heart feel good when I see some of these people. There was a gentleman the other day I saw, and he's not even in the Carolinas. I think he's in Georgia, but he's got land in Georgia. And he's like, I've got 70-something acres. I don't care who comes here, who parks a house here, who puts a tent here. You have land here that you can come to. That's the Americans I like to see. Oh, yes. I love seeing the people just step up. They don't know any of these people from Adam, but they're stepping up to help someone that's in need, and that's what we should be about.
I agree. Another story that I had heard, and you're thinking, okay, these people have lost everything. They're going to be worried about their homes. This mother, she'd lost her home was gone. It just washed away. And the thing she was most upset about was her son's Navy picture.
Oh,
because he was a member of the Navy, and just not having that portrait anymore was just heartbreaking for her, because she's like, I can't get that back.
No.
So, that's it's just the little things you don't even think about. And we can provide her with food and water, but we can't,
the memories of
we can't provide them the memories that they lost and the things that they'll never be able to get back. You think about the trauma that goes along with this. I mean, imagine this is like an apocalypse in the Carolinas. It's like everything is just turned upside down, and the amount of trauma that these people experienced. I mean, I can't even imagine. So you're expecting rain, you're expecting wind. You know that there was a hurricane that hit Florida, and you're thinking, okay, by the time it gets to us in the Carolinas, it'll be some it'll be a nice rainstorm, but they never, ever expected it. So they weren't prepared.
Well, and that's just it too, though. That goes back to what you just said. It's all the geographics, right?
Right.
You had DeSantis. He is rocking it, taking care of everybody in Florida, making sure he's got a system in place. But when you don't have that structure and that system in place, it's a mess.
Right.
And so unfortunately, you're having to learn from this chaos and hope that it never happens. You can prevent a lot of the tragedy and future chaos. But I don't know how you could control the roaring rivers and, the mudslides. It's just been absolutely devastating.
And you think back to Katrina. They didn't think about they knew the
dams.
impact. Yeah, they knew the impact of a hurricane in Louisiana,
Right.
but they didn't have a plan for the amount of water that was going to come in and that it could actually damage those dams, right? And I think that the Carolinas are going to have learned so much from this and the protocols on what to do. So knowing that if a hurricane's coming in that direction, how do we?
Well, then I think about the Floridians. You had not only a hurricane you had to survive, but then all the tornadoes that were touching ground, like over 100 tornadoes touching ground. And I don't know if you saw the video, massive tornadoes, like
huge.
Massive.
We're from Texas. We know tornadoes.
But we're ready for them too, though.
Yes.
I guess they were, I don't know that you can ever be ready for just complete chaos. They were not getting just hit with hurricanes. They're getting hit with tornadoes. It's chaotic.
It's so chaotic. And it's just, it's unbelievable. Imagine the trauma of hearing your elected officials say, you know what, if you didn't evacuate, we need you to write your name and birthday and a permanent marker on your arm because we need to be able to identify you. That's trauma in itself, right? And that's just a scary thing. So people had to face a lot of really tough decisions.
Yeah.
Do I leave everything that I know and go out and maybe not be able to get back in for a very long time? A lot of people, their businesses are their life.
Well, you think
about that.
And
they're having to walk away. And when they walk away, they don't know if their business is going to be back, and they would have to start all over in their 50s and their 60s.
Right.
That's devastating. People had to make those big decisions. And we don't think about that. We think, life, your life is more important, this or that. But for many people, that is their life.
Right.
That's how they survive. That's how they put food on their table.
Right.
And so walking away from something you built for 20 or 30 years.
The heart of Americans, right?
Yeah.
They're going to fight for what they love, and they're going to fight to keep what they can.
You can't blame people that stayed, right?
You can't.
God bless them for making evacuation plans and setting up shelters and all of those things. But, if somebody feels so passionate about something, you can't blame them.
But then you also can't get angry if first responders don't come to get you.
Exactly, 100%.
And I hate to say that, but because every life is valuable, but these first responders are putting their lives on the line.
Yeah, their lives are just as valuable.
And they've got family members waiting for them at home to come home to them. So,
and you know what? They still go out and try to get those people.
They do.
Even if they
really do,
they will do whatever they can to get there.
They will. That's their love.
That's what they do. They make those decisions every single day. I've seen a lot of information about how to donate to this organization, that organization, and those things are so important. So we're getting those basic fundamental needs met, but I haven't seen a whole lot on the mental health support.
The emotional, I know.
So I feel like that's where, and I know that there are therapists and psychologists that are part of organizations that go out to disaster relief areas and they will work with people, but there's no way that it's enough.
Well, it can't be. You can't even get to some of these people.
Right. Correct.
You can't get to them. It's
100%.
It's a hot mess, unfortunately, and it's something that it's scary thinking that, I think the scariest thing for me would have been the not knowing. You already know when you're in Florida, it's going to be bad, but the not knowing in an area that's never been affected like that before, that's the scary part to me. Like it's just scary. And you really hope these people are not uprooted from their entire life. Generations of family members have lived on this land.
Yes.
And you really hope that this doesn't rip them away from what's been passed down from generation to generation.
Identity.
It is their identity.
That's where they come from. That's their roots.
And so I think it's, this is where you encourage the Americans out there that can afford it, start putting resources into helping these people rebuild their lives again.
100%. In this is America. You're going to see that happening.
Oh, you are. You
already
are.
saw the linemen for the electrical lines.
Yeah,
they were coming
linemen.
in from all over the country.
Yeah.
And then people were they were coming in before the hurricanes,
Convoys.
right? Convoys of them. So they were already committed to being there however long it takes.
Right.
So, but this is the American way. You fight, you build, you rebuild, you restore. Yep. And that's what gives us faith. I mean, we're in an election year and there's a lot of divisiveness, but what you will see is in times of crisis, Americans come together.
It's the Americans. And I hate to say this. When I say this, I say Americans. It's your country boys. It's your farmers. It's your it's your truckers. I mean, it is such a good feeling seeing 18-wheelers lined up miles back.
Yes.
Just trying to bring in food and supplies to people that are in need. And these 4-wheelers, I mean, I don't know if you've seen all these 4-wheelers going through the backcountry. Donkeys. Back in the day, I mean, these guys got donkeys loaded down with food and resources for these people so they can get to them.
Because people are resourceful.
That's America to me.
Yeah. I agree. America is a resourceful nation.
It is.
And we can't let all the divisive stuff that goes along on social media taint our vision of what we have here in our country.
No.
Right? We are a resourceful nation. We have true grit. I mean, that's so important.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, you're hearing, some of these reports you're hearing, and I'm not sure if I believe them or not. I want to say that some of the stuff that I've seen straight from the people that are impacted online, it makes me kind of wonder. But, you saw people being stopped from coming in with resources. I don't know how true that was, but I can tell you right now, I know that a job, the government's job is to make sure that they secure everything with safety measures and that good stuff. But this whole thing's been devastated. Like, let the people in that want to serve.
Yeah, and part of me tries to look at the other perspective of that. Were they stopped because it was dangerous for them to go through?
For sure, and I'm sure a lot of it was. But at the same time, if you're willing to risk your life knowing that you've got supplies, let that person do what they need to do to get to other people.
And I think that's where we have to let people make those decisions.
Right.
But I do feel a lot of it was in an effort to not
hurt people.
Make it worse. Yes. So, I don't know. I think it's a tough call, but I think if people are making that decision, you're right. I think we have to let them go because one way or the other, a life's going to be lost.
I don't know about you. If my family members are up there stranded,
I'm going to get there.
Hell or high water, I'm coming.
Yeah. It's just like the one story of the dad who had to get to his daughter's wedding and he got stuck in the Carolinas. And he got out of his car. He put his clothes in a backpack, put some water in there, and he trekked it.
Did he?
And it took him,
did not hear that.
I want to say it was like maybe 2 days or 17 plus miles on terrible terrain. He walked that. And he made it there to walk her down the aisle.
Oh, my gosh. That's American right there, girl.
American.
That is American.
That is true commitment to your
American.
family, for sure. I also want to, we're talking about mental health and the disasters, and we don't have all the facts on the actual
death toll.
Yeah, we don't have any of those kinds of facts or what people are doing or what government's involved, what's not being involved, what organizations are involved. We know there's so many people working for to try to help these people.
Right.
But what we do want to draw attention to is the mental health aspects. And if we think about it, the people that are really suffering right now, if you look at your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, they're at the very bottom. They're at the fundamental survival level where they need their food and water, and they're not really in touch with what's going to happen to them emotionally or psychologically. But we want to draw attention to the things that people need to look out for. Am I mentally and physically exhausted? Am I drained? Is there a fear of the unknown? Am I fixated on that, obsessed over what's in the unknown? Are there ongoing periods of grief? Am I feeling that stress and that anxiety? We want to really focus on am I having sleep problems? Am I avoiding connecting with other people? We want to look for all of the little signs and especially look for it in each other. Because if I can't see it in myself, I need my people to tell me that, hey, you need to look at what's going on because it will compound. It will get bigger.
Well, almost everything you just said, I'm sure every one of those people are feeling. Maybe not all of them at once, but I would think that one of them is checking off one of those because I'm thinking about it and I'm not even in the situation and it stresses me out.
100%. And what I'm feeling like is they're so focused on their basic needs,
Yeah.
they're not paying attention to
Yeah.
these things. And so we know that it can get worse. The PTSD can get worse, and it can take a long-term toll on them and their ability to then connect in relationships and to really function in their everyday lives. So we really want to make sure that if we see one of our loved ones going through that and they're not seeing it in themselves, that we support them through that and we help them to see it in themselves.
Right.
And the importance of getting help so that we can manage the outcomes, right? And so we really wanted to do those things. And also we want to focus on how can we cope in these situations? What are things we can do to take care of ourselves? And what does that look like? Because again, it's easy for me to say, from Texas,
right?
And I can spout these things off, but when you're in the middle of it, again, they're just in survival mode, right? So we want to talk about just, taking a moment to be with your feelings and not judging yourself for them. You don't need to judge yourself for your feelings. If you're experiencing something, feel it. Take the time to really meditate on it and really understand that, hey, this is out of my control, but what do I have control over?
Well, and I think that's the best point you could have made, Karla, is a lot of these things that are happening around these people are completely out of their control, but to focus on the things that you can have control over.
Absolutely.
And a lot of that is your emotional and, the lack of resources that you have. It's easy for us to say, oh, well, let's do A, B, and C, right?
Yeah.
But the resources you have, utilize them and know that you only have control over the things that you have control over and not things that are out of your control. There's going to be chaos and a lot of things are out of control for the next few months, probably for these people.
Yes.
You got to also think we're fixing to start getting into a cool season.
Yes.
So, I mean,
it's already cooling down in that area.
It is cooling down.
It's in the mountains.
I mean, it's cooling down in Texas and it's, people would think it's 100 degrees here right now, but it's cooling down.
Yeah, it is cooling down.
But, I think that people, if you have resources to offer these people, don't hesitate. And I know you won't, because I know true Americans don't hesitate to offer, sponsoring a family or helping them rebuild something to be able to get through the next process. And here's something I would say to the survivors and the people that have been impacted. Don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah. 100%.
I think a lot of times people are afraid to ask because of the fear of being turned down or turned away. You got a lot of good Americans out there that want to help. They're not sure how to help.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to ask.
100%. And I think many people they're not used to relying on other people's for their needs
I don't.
being
Do
met.
you?
No, right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be like, I'm going to take care of myself,
Right.
And I think that in times like this, it's the best thing you can do is to let other people help you.
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, it is okay not to be okay.
Right.
And you talk about the things that I can control. I think we get so caught up in the what ifs. What if this? What if that? What if that? And it just builds more of anxiety. So slow it down. What can I control today? What can I get done today? What are 3 things that I can accomplish today? Because at the end, you're going to feel like I did something today, and it helps you again to take back control.
Well, and also to know that if you had 3 things to accomplish and you didn't accomplish 2 out of the 3, you had one thing.
You still had a successful day.
You still tried. Yeah. And I think that's so important for people to know, Karla, is that just because it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to turn out, you still attempted.
Yeah. And you still gained from that day.
Yeah.
There's something you gained from that day. The other thing is you can't get through this alone. And that's what we were just talking about. You have to connect with your neighbors, your community, your family, your friends. And I think we're hearing story after story how, maybe we're not getting all of the resources in because of the different complications, but you see the people helping each other.
I love it.
And they've all lost, but they're going to jump in and help the next person.
That's the thing that warms my heart is you're seeing people that have lost everything and they need to focus on themselves, but there's this unselfish will to be able to focus on others to help your neighbor. And that's really what we need to be more about.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to take time because something like this is so catastrophic. But it is the American way to rebuild.
It is.
And it's not only going to be rebuilt, it's going to be rebuilt better.
Yeah.
It's going to be better. And I think that when we're feeling hopeless, we have to remember it's going to take time, but it's going to be better than it was. And there's going to be so much that can be gained from the things that we've lost. So I think that's important to remember. I think, if you're experiencing survivor's guilt, that is a real thing, and really help. And one of the best ways you can help is by contributing, because when you're contributing and giving back, it helps to ease that guilt. Yeah. And so that's a really important part.
What would you say, Karla, though, to the people that are they're still missing their loved ones? How would you help them walk through that journey?
That is such a complicated issue, because it's like a missing child, right?
Yeah, and there's no closure or peace.
There's no closure or peace, and just finding a way to get through each day and just taking it moment by moment, because we don't know what's on the other side of that, and preparing yourself to go either direction. There's a part of you that wants to hold on to the hope, and that's okay. We can hold on to some hope, but at the same time, we have to be able to prepare ourselves for the other side. And I think that that's the thing that's so hard about the situation, is because you may never know what happened. And in that situation, we go back to, how do you survive that? And how do you keep going in those moments? But I think you have to know that it's important to survive. You were given this opportunity for a reason. And what are you going to make of it? How are you going to keep that? How are you going to keep searching for that person or keep their memory alive if you give up?
Right.
So holding on to the hope in a way that it keeps you moving forward, because the only thing we can do is take one foot and put it in front of the other, and try to find a way to keep going, and be real with your emotions, experience them when they're happening. The real fear is getting lost in those emotions and shutting down.
And that would be, I mean, I think you and I as a parent or a wife, a sister or brother, I mean, it's easy to say it, right? It's so hard to think.
To do it.
It's the unknown. I think no one likes not knowing.
Right. Because
and that's
again,
the hardest thing.
In these moments, everything's out of control. You want to control something, and you don't have any control over what the outcome is going to be. And the grieving process has already started. Yeah. Even though you don't know what's happened to your loved one, the grieving process is already starting. And so we have to make sure that we're going through that process and really trying to find a way to pick ourselves back up. It's a hard one. I don't think that there's an answer to that one. I don't know how I would react in that situation if it were my child or my spouse.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I don't think I would either.
Yeah.
I think it would be a search and rescue almost to the point where I would, it's hard.
My heart goes out to them, because I don't think that there's an easy answer. All I can say is put that one foot in front of the other and see what the day brings you, right? And just focus on being in the moment, because there's so much outside of that moment we can't control.
Wow.
It's tough stuff, but our country is going through this right now. I know I'm pretty old, but I haven't seen something like this.
You're just getting started.
We've seen things like, we've seen the wildfires, we've seen Katrina, we've seen this, but something like what's going on in the mountains, I don't know that I can recall a story like that.
I don't think I have either. And, you and I have experienced quite a bit of history at our age.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that have happened that a lot of our
we lived through 9/11.
Oh, yeah. 9/11, we've wars.
100%.
I mean, we've had, viruses. We've had the world shut down, which a lot of people have never seen. And it's like you said, you're seeing this. And I think the worrisome is we all know we're in hurricane season. We know that there's actually another one brewing right now, I think. But it's like, how do you encourage someone? Like, let's just say Helene, is it Helene? Helene just got through hitting, which did all the damage to the Carolinas, right? And then they just got hit with Milton, right? Well, there's another one brewing. How do you encourage these people to keep going after knowing that there's another one that could be in the path? Like that's what's exhausting, thinking like the people that got, especially the Florida people, they got through Milton or got through Helene, and then Milton. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did. And I was reading some stuff on the impact of the back-to-back storms.
Right.
But I feel like the people in that state,
they already know. They're ready.
They're ready for that, right? It's what happened on the other
Georgia
side.
and Carolina.
Yeah. Because they weren't expecting something so huge. But, where that first one hit, hurricanes don't hit that area, right? Where it hit on that panhandle of Florida, it doesn't normally hit there.
Yeah.
And so that's why it went so fast into those areas. And so it's just hard to really understand, but people in Florida, they're going to be in Florida no matter what. They're dedicated to that.
I love Florida. Yeah. So, yeah.
They're dedicated to be there and to stay there, and they're going to ride it out. They're going to do what they need to do to take care of themselves. They got a plan in action. But we just have to remember that there are areas that aren't as prepared. And that's where we have to grow and learn from this experience and really help our leaders, our community leaders, to understand, okay, this hit us hard. What are we going to do different? How are we going to rebuild? We need to rebuild better. Every time we need to rebuild better.
I don't know if you've thought about this, though. Have you thought about, people don't realize that, you've got that kind of rising water in the Carolinas. Do you realize the gators that are out there?
Oh, in Florida.
No, Florida, too. Yeah, but, in Georgia, and then I keep saying Georgia, but Carolinas, too, Gator Central. Right?
I'm not a gator person. They freak me out.
I play golf, and when I'm on a golf course up there, they're sitting there basking in the sun. I mean,
oh my gosh.
So I can't imagine the worry these people have, not just over the rising waters, but all the elements that are in the water.
I didn't even think about that, but that really gives me the heebies.
Yeah, well, it should.
Because I just have a fear of alligators. Anyone who knows me knows this.
I didn't know that.
Yes. So when I go to Florida, it freaks me out.
Oh, well, we're taking you to Florida. I got to get this on film, y'all.
It really freaks me out.
I'm hitting a ball off the tee box.
Thing to happen. I mean, sharks and gator, both of them freak me out.
I'm hitting the ball off the tee box with the gator sitting there right next to me, basking in the sun.
Oh no!
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
no!
It's so much fun.
I would have to be in an armored vehicle to do that. I need to be. Do gators crawl up? Can I get on top of things? Do they
Do they
can
crawl?
they crawl up?
No, I don't.
I mean, I know that they got the little short legs, but can they crawl up things?
No, I don't think so. I can
up
tell
ladders.
I don't. I'm sure if he's hungry enough, he will. I know that when you run in a zigzag motion. You don't run straight
because they can't zigzag.
It's harder for them to keep up with you when you're
zigzagging.
But when
I see them fighting, they're doing this.
Are you in the water or are you on the ground?
No, but when I see people trying to catch them or deal with them, they're all squirmy, going.
Well, they're going to squirm, but you're not. Or they're not running. They're wrestling them, right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference right there. All I know is I'm getting away.
Do you think you can outrun the gator?
I'm telling you right now, if my life's in danger, I'm running. I will jump. I will roll. I will tuck. I'll do anything I need to do.
Well, I just won't be next to one, period.
You're going to come golf with me one day at Hilton Head. We'll go to Hilton Head and we'll golf, and I'll let you see all the gators.
I'm driving the getaway car. That's all I know.
You'll be in the golf cart on the tee box where it's not allowed.
Oh, my gosh. But, yes, this went to a whole new area.
It did.
I'm just trying to say. But, yeah, no, what people are dealing with is just phenomenal. We hope that the empathy, the compassion, the conviction doesn't fade away.
No.
We hope that we are riding it through with the people in Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas, that we're going to ride this wave with them until they are back on their feet and back in control of their own environment, that we're going to be there to support them in every step of the way. I know that's where my money's going to go this Christmas and the holidays. Yeah. I'm going to make sure that we continue to help them rebuild.
And if you have a story that you want to share with us about your situation and how you've been impacted by the storms, please reach out to us, DM us, reach out to us, because we really want to hear, and we want other people to walk your journey with you. I think that's
the
so
trials
important.
and the successes.
Yeah, I mean,
we want to hear
life
all of
is
it.
about the good and the bad, and I think that's a lot of people don't realize that mental health is not just a journey of recovery. It's a journey of flourishing and growing. It's a journey of laughter and tears.
It is. And we want to feel it and experience it with you. You're not in this alone.
No.
It's so important for you to know that this is a time to lean on people.
Lean on people, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Absolutely. Ask for help. Let people know you're struggling.
And we do love all you guys out there. We are praying for you guys, and we are hoping that things get back to normal really soon for you.
And we want you to know you're worthy, and we're in this together. If you or anyone you know is struggling with mental health issues, please reach out to talk to someone you trust. Get connected to a mental health professional who can help you find ways to cope and ultimately feel better. If you are having suicidal or self-harm thoughts or thoughts of hurting another person, please go to the nearest ER, call 911, or contact the National Suicide Hotline at 988. Thank you for tuning in to Mental Perk. We hope our talk today highlighted real people working through real issues based on mental health. Our goal at Mental Perk is to make sure every one of you knows you're worthy. We're in this together.